Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, where we will be talking about the TCO of S/4HANA and RISE. So think about it, analyze it before you make a decision, and understand all the options. This is what we find most important in this very important process for your IT environment. And today, I have Samuel Villa with me.
Hi all, it's a pleasure to be here. I've been working at VOQUZ for 6 months and I have experience with Francisco a lot of projects regarding this topic, so we want to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, this is our star consulting director now, who has helped me in some of the most important projects in America. And really love to have you on the team, Samuel. This has enriched our company a lot to have you there.
Thank you,
So
Francisco.
let's get to it. The TCO of S/4HANA and RISE. We will show you today what options you have when you migrate to S/4HANA, be it perpetual or on the SAP cloud. But before we get there, we would like to give you an update. I mean, probably most of you already know about this, but eventually something went past you. So what have we seen? In Germany, mostly, clients have been complaining a bit about the price increases with SAP. And the press is saying clients are losing trust. Well, yes, I can get that. I mean, price increases, unplanned price increases is difficult. Nevertheless, don't forget that for clients who have longer going projects, eventually you haven't had a price increase for the last 5 years or something like that. And with the inflation that we've had, not that I don't totally understand SAP, but yes, we are talking about big amounts of money. So, and on the other hand, of course, then we have Christian Klein telling people, well, if you stay on premise, you won't get the innovation because we won't be updating on premise products. Well, so you are increasing my maintenance, but I won't get any new updates. That sounds to me a bit illogical. So in the next investor meeting, then Christian Klein went back and said, well, we didn't mean it like that. So we think we will go on developing new functionalities for S/4HANA Perpetual. So there is something going on. There is some insecurity in the market with what is now going on. I mean, we can't be forced to take the cloud option of SAP. We want to be able to choose, so please support us there. And I think SAP is trying to understand the best way to get there. I do see, on the other hand, of course, SAP's difficulty. As I read the other day, SAP's clients nowadays have around 200 different versions of the ERP system. So try and maintain 200 versions of a software, try and bring out a new functionality that still works with all those 200 different versions of the software. That's very difficult. And I do get to a certain extent that SAP is trying to push clients to move to the new versions. On the other hand, of course, it should happen at your preferred timing and in a manner that suits you. So on the other hand, we see this table there in a small part of the screen that shows how same as it happened in the past with the other versions when SAP brought out R3, now we are in the same situation that the upgrade or update credits are going down. They have already gone down by 20%, well, 10%, because it was 90%. Now clients are only getting 80 with the announcement that every year in the following 5 years, this conversion credit for your contract will go down by further 10%, which is putting additional pressure on you to make a decision to move to S/4HANA. Yeah, and that's about it, what we are seeing. So let's look into this. The question is S/4HANA migration. What do we have there? Samuel, what have your last experiences been in the projects that we've done? So is this something that makes clients insecure? Do they already know before we start the analysis what they want? How is it really?
Yeah, Francisco. Yeah, we saw in the customers that we are working on some questions regarding the plan to the migration. That means, okay, what can I do regarding my license that I already bought with SAP? And also, what is the better way to migrate to the S/4HANA on-premise or RISE? They need to choose. And when we try to help them, we just understand the license position, the current license position, and we understand the needs on the future. Because when you look at the SAP proposal, sometimes they are just putting a lot of things that is not necessary to keep on this. So it is important to understand not only the current position, but also the future. And the customer has a lot of questions regarding this. Uh,
Yep,
Decision needs to
I
be
see that.
made, but yeah, we are here to help them to do this.
Okay, so step number one that we wanted to show you in this slide is basically, it is important that you first understand where you are. So before thinking of the migration to S/4HANA RISE, you need to understand where you are today. So where is the money? And the question is, how much are you spending for SAP Cloud, for SAP maintenance, for application managed services, for cloud infrastructure? And when I say SAP Cloud, I mean products such as SuccessFactors, Ariba, etc., that are subscription based. So first understand where you are already spending the money. And this is like the big helicopter view, but you need to get down to the product groups, like how much of my contract is business objects. So if I'm migrating to SAP Analytics Cloud, how will this transform my contract? And in my particular case, how much are the users in my contract? How much is the database, etc.? You need to understand the components of your contract. Who is doing application management services? Is this an external company, Lemongrass, Capgemini, Syntax, whoever is taking care of this? Or do you have your own staff in your IT department taking care of this? How many people? What is the cost for that? What is the service level that you have today? And then getting down to infrastructure. So is this your own servers, or did you already do a lift and shift towards AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or IBM? So are you already there? You need to understand the pricing components and the contents about it. What else can we say there, Samuel?
Yeah, Francisco. For example, regarding the service levels, I saw that the customers already know about the service level they have currently, but when they try to understand the service level in the future, it is a little confused because I don't know exactly if the service level provided for SAP on the proposal, it is currently covering everything that I need. And sometimes we know that something is missing. So I think that this is a good point of start
Exactly.
on this.
I think the fact is SAP is starting this trip too, and they are learning too what makes
Mhm.
sense to provide within a software as a service offering and what doesn't make sense because the client rather wants something very customized, very specific. And the clients are learning too, so it's difficult at this moment to make the decisions, but we can help you there. So what do we say here? When you plan the components regarding the costs, you should look at the classical licensing matters like users, engines, database, digital access, etc. But now you need to look in depth into your infrastructure. So proper sizing. When you are on ECC and you're migrating to S/4HANA, you need to count with the fact that if you're not on HANA already, you will need much more memory for an in-memory database, and this will increase the hardware requirements, and you will have additional costs. On the other hand, I have seen clients on ECC on HANA already who were able to do a server consolidation when migrating to S/4HANA. So you need to understand your situation. What are the changes? What is the necessary sizing? Do you have only development, servers, quality and production, or do you also have pre-production, sandbox, training servers? How many of them, etc. Caching, all of these aspects regarding infrastructure. Are you doing monthly backups on top of the daily backups? How many daily backups do you have? 15 or 30? You need to get down to those details.
Yeah.
Now, on top of the hardware, you need the people who manage this hardware. So the infrastructure management services doing backups, restores, operating system updates, all of these things. Then you go over and need to have the SAP basis work, so application management services, etc., etc. And this is about it. Understand the single components and look at the things in detail, make them comparable. We can help you there. Who are we? We are a specialized German company, today a global company, originally from Germany. We do a very relevant part of our business in America these days, but first is still Europe, and then the rest of the world with Asia Pacific, etc. We have more than 500 customers. We prepare those financial scenarios for clients, do the license assessments, the effective license position assessment, audit defense, everything related to SAP costs, SAP management, SAP controls, SAP authorizations, everything relevant to maximize value of your SAP. This is what we are engaged in. Let's move on to the next slides. What else do we have here? Let me remember. Samuel, why don't you tell us something about the steps that you need to go, the process for a client who's now in the near the process of moving to S4HANA.
Okay.
Just tell us what you're doing these days in the projects.
Okay, Francisco. This is the summary of the process that we are doing in our customers related to the business case analysis and preparation. We start with the contract evaluation. This is a very important part of this process because here we can not only understand the current BOM or bill of material that the customer has, but also the products categories, pricing discounts, discount levels that the customer had with SAP in the past, and also, and I think that this is one of the most important things, the special terms and conditions that the customer already have in your contract. Those terms and conditions could be for or against the customer, and this is a very important part as well. So we start on this to understand exactly what the customer has, what are the usage rights for each product that the customer has with SAP, and after this we just start with the sizing of the user license. The user license is one of the most basic licenses in our SAP environment, but this is a very important part of the contract because usually the user license represents most part of the cost that the customer has with SAP. So we
If
start
you
look.
If you
Sorry.
let me interrupt there, I feel bad talking about user licenses because we have a license assessment tool like SAMQ. It
Yeah.
feels like whatever you ask us, the answer is user licenses. But let me be very straightforward. That is not the case. In the beginning, when we were talking about the S4HANA migrations, we were questioning, is user licenses still something relevant or is it not? Now, after maybe, I don't know, 30, 50, I haven't counted them really, as for HANA migration projects, what we have seen is that the costs of not aligning your user licenses are still going up by something like 100 to 400%. So basically, to say it a little less politely, some salespeople are inflating their proposals by 100 to 400% based on their best guess of how many users the client needs on S4HANA or full user equivalents on RISE, based on a very generalistic star assessment, which is more authorizations based, but your authorizations are not aligned with what the people actually do. So still look at those user licenses, still a very relevant part of this. And sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you there.
yeah, exactly. No, no, Francisco, this is very interesting. Right now, we are working in a project where the estimated cost of user license in the future represents like 30% of the all costs related to the S/4HANA migration. Why? Why is the reason of that? It is because uh, the customer don't have the control of the user license, so the needs of license in the future is higher than the volume of license they already have in their contract. So with the support of our tool, SAMQ, we just perform a detailed assessment of the current license, the license that is in use, and we check the possibility to perform an optimization of the user license. That means reduce the volume of users, of the active users, and also correctly adjust the user license for each user in each system. So this is like a second part of your services in our overall overview. And also after this, we start to look at the infrastructure to understand the infrastructure sizing, because this is also important for the composition of the business case. uh, Not only we not only look at the current infrastructure costs, but also we try to evaluate the future costs related to this. We have, for example, access to the price list of some partners such as Syntax. So we not only propose to the customers an estimation based on the SAP proposed, but also we propose to the customer an estimation based on Syntax or AWS or other services and infrastructure providers. So this is part of our services as well. AMS services costs are also assessed. We execute the comparison between the costs proposed by SAP and also the cost of other service providers as Syntax or other companies that the customer has contract. And we just prepare like a comparison between the costs and also a comparison between the service levels and the coverage offered by SAP. And with this, we just presented the customer in not only in high level the estimated cost, but also details about the service levels and details about the coverage for each proposal that the customer has. And this is also a part of our business case preparation. And I don't know if you want to give more details about this, Francisco, or comment something regarding
Something
this.
that I was just thinking of is the following difficulty. So basically, if we compare business models, SAP is trying to move from pure software plus maintenance model to a software as a service model.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, with those big clients, those big systems, clients are still asking for a private cloud, which means I want my own servers. So difficult to optimize because I'm not sharing the servers. So in opposite to a Salesforce, we're sharing the servers for everyone and they are just regional servers. Here, every client wants his own servers. But now those servers, I'm not contracting them directly with Azure or with Google Cloud, IBM. I'm trying to contract them through SAP, so there is a margin on top of that, right? So we are in this transition of SAP's business model, and this is not always to our advantage as a client. So prove this infrastructure sizing very thoroughly, because I think, as said, everyone is learning, and in occasions when your company is not that big, maybe not that relevant. SAP has very good offering for such companies, but when your company gets bigger, difficult. So cost avoidance, where? Please don't misunderstand this multiplications here, but we already talked about the user licenses. We are seeing something between paying twice and paying 4 times as much for the user licenses, not for the whole contract, if you don't align them correctly. Same goes for the digital access, by the way. In occasions, I mean, with SAP Passport, everything got much better. But really, when you don't have Passport installed, you are running danger of overestimating your need for digital access, because the old digital access estimation report is bringing out results that are far from realistic. And SAP knows that, and this is why they brought out the SAP Passport. Now, conversion value, I think I may be exaggerating when I say twice as much. Depends on the situation. I am seeing here basically the situation that clients just don't know what their historical conversion value is, what they have spent over time. Then shelfware. Well, you need to do a proper shelfware evaluation because this is the moment to get rid of shelfware and exchange it for valuable things, new products like SAP Analytics Cloud, do a cloud conversion to success factors, to Analytics Cloud, to whatever. Just don't stay on paying maintenance for things that you don't use. And there is a danger of not analyzing this, very important part. So still here, those numbers about the over and under licensing. I'm still surprised nowadays. I mean, I'm still getting old with this licensing business. And now we get to the clients and I think, well, everyone knows about licensing. No, it's just that we don't do other than that. We still encounter clients. Right now we have one in our hands who is heavily under licensed. That can't happen. I mean, my God, I mean, how can it be that you have half as many user licenses as you need? You need to take care of this. Please use tools, whatever you use. If it is not our tool, something else, but take control of this because you run into real financial and legal problems with that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think if you allow me, I will jump over this because we are a bit late on time. Samuel, this is about the importance of being proactive and managing your user licenses. Still important, still interesting, but we got to come a bit quicker to the end. So let's move on. Proactive user management. But then we wanted to show you a bit of what we are doing today. And Samuel has been actively working on this for a couple of months already. This is visoryQ. visoryQ is the result of the first 20 projects that we did in the beginning in S4HANA and RISE migrations. Understanding the complexity, the difficulties about it. So it is about your future. It is about your future between 5 and the next 15 years. What will you be doing with SAP? Are you paying subscriptions? Will you be on the cloud? Will you be on premise? How will you solve your application maintenance? Do you want to do this with a more or less standardized service like cloud application services from SAP, or rather go for a full custom model like, I don't know, IBM Consulting, Accenture, others are offering? Understand your options. And this is what we are supporting with this tool of us, visoryQ. It is about showing the options and showing the components. Let's go on. So what options, what components? So number one, when we are considering the options, something that I encounter every time is people are comparing pears and apples. I mean, it's such an old saying, but when you get a proposal on the table, it mostly doesn't match what you have today. It's what you have today plus X. So first of all, you need to make the proposals comparable. So what are we contributing here? We are, with visoryQ, supplying you with market data about application management services, market data for hyperscaler costs, the whole business model of understanding what does an S4HANA migration look like and what components do you have to take into account, like the different bill of materials, the different application management service scenarios, the different infrastructure scenarios, the migration costs, the return on investment, the additional modules, so the extensions of your ERP system, and all of those aligned in a way that you can properly calculate the total cost of ownership of SAP, the net present value of every single option, the OPEX, CAPEX, the spend, and get a good picture. Why don't you tell us a bit more about the services, Samuel? Because service comparison is an important part here. And so I don't know if this is something that everyone is aware of.
Okay, Francisco. Regarding services, some customers has currently some service providers, and when you look at, for example, other options that we have access to the price list, and we do a high-level comparison, we just find that the customer currently pay too much more regarding services than he could pay in the future. Maybe choosing another service provider. So the customers has some problems to identify exactly how companies that provide the current service level, and also how to identify if I'm paying the current amount of the services, or can I pay less with another companies. We have access to service providers. We have some partners, and we can look on this on details and propose to the customer other options than the options that the customer already has access.
Exactly. So if you think of your SAP basis administration and every service related to SAP. Now we have clients who do this with 2 persons, and we have clients who do this with 20 persons. Some of them are internal, some of them are totally outsourced. They have a service contract with an AMS provider. We are talking about, well, SAP defines the services as a list of 1,000 roles and responsibilities in their so-called roles and responsibilities file. We have even discovered more service groups than that. And you need to really properly browse through these services, categorize them, understand what you have today and what you still will need in the future. So part of RISE is a relevant part of these services, concretely around 40% of those services, but you need to be aware that you're not getting probably everything that you have today, and you need to make a decision on what you have, what do you still want to contract with SAP, and what would you still want to do by yourself, or just subcontract with someone else who knows your company, who's been already working there for the last 10 years, etc. Up to you. This is about understanding the options. We don't really mind what direction you want to go, but we want to make you aware of everything. So in this list of, here you can see, by the way, in visoryQ, how we set up different financial scenarios. It's ECC compared with S4HANA on-prem, compared with RISE, and the different components. And when you see the components that we use here, it's the different bill of materials, the different options for application managed services, the different options for infrastructure, migration costs with different companies, in this case, Accenture and IBM, migration of application integrations to RISE, a different point that is very often disregarded. If you migrate to RISE and you have your ERP connected with 20 different systems, your point of sale system, your extended warehouse management, your logistics system, your RPA, etc. All of these integrations that are today on ERP have now to go over to RISE. And this is something that you need to plan for as a separate migration product. So these are important things. Where do we want to get in the end? We want to get to something like this, where we are properly comparing the different options, the different scenarios. So RISE in different tastes, with S4HANA perpetual, with your actual situation, sorry, and see if the price goes up, if it goes down. How about CAPEX? How about OPEX? How about net present value, etc. Just properly understanding what you have in front of you to make the best decision possible, but also to focus your negotiation with SAP in the right direction. First, understand where you are. Second, understand where you could get. And then once you have a total clear picture about that, start negotiating with them once you see the consequences, the implications of every solution, but also the financial scenarios attached to that. One thing that we'll want to look into is the spend over time. That is also very important. And now, considering what we are looking into here. The service part, as we said, is very important. Here we are comparing with our tool the 1,000 different services and the different service groups. And although it looks like a Boston Consulting diagram or a magic quadrant from Gardner, who adopted this, we are now adopting it to a different purpose, which is with the proposals that you have on the table today. If we compare the level of fulfillment of your requirements and the costs of every single application management service provider, where do they end in your particular situation? Not as a market valuation, but in your particular situation, with the service scope that you have, with the proposals that you have. And this is about it. It's just about giving you insight on the options that you have, on the different components that you have. It's quick. So, Samuel, how long are those projects normally lasting, the ones that you have been participating in when it comes to analyzing this as for HANA and RISE migration?
Well, Francisco, this type of projects we can do like in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, it depends of the needs of the customer. If they are in conversation with SAP, we can run fast and in delivery as fast as possible some results, but it don't take too much time to run this type of services. We can do this in a few weeks, okay? And also we can still with the customer doing the comparison between different proposals delivered by SAP in the future. So we will be with the customer until the end of the negotiation phase with SAP for sure. But
Yeah.
to present some results like this, just 2 or 3 weeks we can do that.
So let me be very straightforward. Of course, we have different client sizes. So a
Yeah.
normal client, when we are comparing the different scenarios and components, etc., I agree with Samuel, something between 2 to 3 weeks. But now we are recommending very often to, before you start designing the scenarios, the financial scenarios, also do a user license assessment, an engine assessment, digital access and HANA assessment. This will well delay or increase the duration of the project to something between I don't know, 2 to 4 additional weeks, where we end up at 2 months already. And if we are talking about the large client, like some of the ones that we have with 50, 100,000 users on SAP, 200 different products, I don't know, 100 historical contracts, then of course we may be talking about a project that goes for half a year or something like that. So, but most of the projects, agree with Samuel, are somewhere in the 3-4 weeks, something like that. So what are you getting? A proper methodology. Don't reinvent the wheel. We have already understood what you need to look into to make your decision towards RISE with SAP or S/4HANA in the future. Analyze the different options, analyze your demand, your scope, your particular necessities, and we will lead you through this process with our tools. Thank you for license assessment and simulation of the level of licensing that you need. visoryQ for setting up your financial scenarios, and afterwards Care Plus, which means software license management as a service to make sure that your costs with SAP are still managed. We have full automation of the process. We save you time with that. That's about it. Any other comments, Samuel, things that we may have left out?
No, Francisco, I think that is interesting to mention that the costs, the expected cost to related to the migration needs to be, we want to be between 30 and 40%. But however, we have seen a lot of customers without the correct preparation, having costs easily exceeding 50%, for example. So this type of
Um,
preparation, type of planning, it is,
Exceeding it by far. That's totally
yeah,
correct. Thank you
yeah.
for bringing this up. I totally agree with you. I mean, yeah, I have worked in sales, and you know where you are. You see opportunity, a client is doing something new. You see an opportunity for you as a salesperson, and now we're talking about big amounts when it comes to an ERP system. So don't let the exaggerate optimism of a salesperson mislead you to thinking that you need to double or triple your costs, because this is not the case. You need to be realistic, separate clearly what is the scope that you have today, what will this look on RISE with SAP or S/4HANA, and then your additional extensions to your ERP, new approaches like IoT or RPA or analytics, things like that. They come on top. They are new projects, make sense, but don't compare this whole set of products with what you have today, because it doesn't make sense. You need to compare apples and apples, not the other way around.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you very much. And with this, we come already to our Q&A session. So I'm interested in listening to your questions and glad to answer them. Thank you very much for being today with us, and look very much forward to get in touch with you over the next weeks or months.
Thank you.
Excellent. That was interesting. Thanks very much. And thanks for staying for the Q&A session, Francisco and Samuel. Let me just stop the video transmission. What I understood, and that's where the first question is coming from, that it's actually quite good to be proactive and not wait for the salesperson. I thought it was quite funny the way you put that. Not wait for the salesperson to come and give you advice on what to buy. I mean, you can do that, but that might potentially be a little bit expensive. So the first question coming in is regarding why would I need a tool like a visoryQ to compare? It sounds blunt in terms of why can't I compare myself? Why do I need to have it visualized? Is it so complicated? Does it take so long, or what is the point? Hang on, you're on mute, Francisco, and let me just unmute you again. I think now off you go.
Thank you. I didn't notice.
Not a problem.
So there is a certain level of complexity to it, no question. The fact that we started developing a tool was because we noticed that building financial scenarios is a complex and repetitive work where you basically try to adapt the single requirements of clients to the specific situations. So are we analyzing a 5-year total cost of ownership or 10-year? Do we want to include return on investment? Do we want to include migration costs in the overall estimation? So some clients have a higher level of complexity, others less. And we wanted to make this easy and automate the process and basically visualize this decision process for the client. In the end, you mentioned that you shouldn't ask the salesperson what you want to buy. Well, I mean, it sounds funny, but this is happening. So this is all about being prepared. It's like, I mean, I always turn back to the car purchase, right? If you go to the first agency and look at the car and buy at the first price that you're offered, you don't compare the brands, you don't compare the technical aspects of every car, the beauty, the different things that you get with it, then you're very likely to eventually buy what you don't need or what you don't want, etc. And this is not something different. It's about being prepared. It's about understanding what you can get from SAP, what you can get from the MSPs in terms of services, in terms of infrastructure, etc., and being prepared and making sure we are talking about an outlook of 10 years. You will be at least using S/4HANA. So just prepare yourself properly and make sure that you consider all the single factors. So visoryQ is about making this process more efficient, and just not like in the old days, make your most important decisions based just on Excel files. I mean, I love Excel. It's a beautiful tool, but it just is too complex to build everything in Excel. It's not the way to go. So with SAMQ, we analyze the usage of SAP to give you a proper picture on where you are. So do you still have the things that you need? I mean, if you bought SAP 20 years ago and it grew and it changed, etc., you may want to assess, what do I want to migrate to S4HANA? With visoryQ, we help you comparing the services offered by SAP with what you have today to properly understand, so is this enough, or do I need cloud application services from SAP on top of it? And then what is the difference between, say, SAP Cloud Application Services and services offered by IBM Consulting, by Capgemini, Lemongrass, whoever? It's about understanding what you're buying. And this brings me to the other question that we got. So is there still room in the market for MSPs, managed service providers in the future? Well, I don't look so much to look into the glass wall, and I'm maybe not even the best at it, at giving outlooks of market trends. My impression out of what we see today in the market is that SAP has like thousands and thousands of clients. SAP has around 3,000 different products. And it's trying to bring products to the market that match the needs of many clients, most of the clients. But eventually, of course, it is not a one-size-fits-all. That doesn't work with a complex ERP system. So my impression today is RISE with SAP will meet the needs of many of SAP's clients. Some of them will need additional services on top of SAP, on top of RISE with SAP. They can buy the services from SAP or from MSPs, like the companies that I mentioned before. And then you have very highly complex clients who have a lot of customized services. So think of a client with 50,000 users in SAP. Every update is a headache. I mean, they need to test every single function that they build on SAP and see if it still works on the new version. They need additional servers for training, pre-production, sandbox, etc. Very complex infrastructure. Most of them, they have dedicated on-site staff from, say again, IBM Consulting, Lemongrass, Capgemini, etc. So people who know their systems, their particular developments very well. I don't see this very likely that complex customers with this level of customization and special needs could be covered in the future just by a standardized service. But in the end, this is my opinion, doesn't really matter. You should look into your particular situation, and that's what's important. So the single client, what is your demand? How do you use SAP? Is this just your accounting system, or are the core processes of your company led by SAP? Then you eventually need to really focus on a very high level of quality, different than if you're running a state-of-the-art service with SAP.
That question almost turned out like a second webinar. That's actually quite interesting. So we might pick that up. Another one that came in via a different channel, via LinkedIn, which was quite straightforward and direct and almost a bit sarcastic, which I liked, was, is the sheer existence of visoryQ the proof that one shouldn't trust using star to evaluate where you stand? You touched that topic early on, and I would say, before you answer, I would say, like, checking what you have with the tool of the company you bought it from might come in a bit weird for some people. So what do you say on that?
Well, I must admit that SAP really does their best to try and solve problems of clients. And STAR is an approach. an acceptable approach of trying to find out how many licenses you will need in the future. Some clients don't have software asset management tools like SAMQ, so they stand a bit alone in front of this task. Now, this leads in the end to a very big discussion. So in the past, all SAP contracts were based on usage of SAP. So the use rights were oriented to what are you allowed to do in SAP. So this professional license gives you the right to do this and that. And now they are oriented, the newer contracts, towards authorizations. It's not what you do, it's what you're authorized to do. And so the STAR assessment measures in a proper way, as technically correctly as possible, what authorizations you gave your users. Now, the problem that I see there, of course, is in my eyes, 90% of companies don't have their authorizations aligned with the reality of the usage. So it is an approach, but when we compare this to a proper usage analysis with a tool like ours, like SAMQ, in the end, of course, people have more authorizations than what they actually do. So if you plan the future based on what people are actually doing, which is what we analyze, it is very likely that your user demand will be much lower than if you do a STAR assessment. And this is not because SAP is now manipulating anything or so. It is technically totally correct what SAP is doing there. It is just that we don't think this is the right approach. And eventually, the companies who developed SLO2, SAP License Audit Workbench in its second version, together with SAP, went away from assigning licenses based on authorizations because they noticed it was too expensive, it wasn't efficient. Which supports our theory that you should rather analyze usage than authorizations. So I understand SAP developing this. It is technically correct, but eventually this is not the cheapest and not the best approach for your company.
So it's not contradicting each other, but there is a better way to get an individual answer the way I get it, the way you explained it. Okay, yep. Another question which is quite straightforward and simple is, how much is visoryQ? How do you calculate how much it costs me to sort of evaluate my ERP scenarios while using it? Yeah.
Well, it's a simple tool. And we have clients who have 300 users in SAP and others who have 300,000 or even 1 million users in SAP. So, of course, it's very difficult to give price indications. But I can tell you in the projects that I have seen so far, first of all, we sell visoryQ together with services to make sure that the client is assessing things correctly. So getting the proper data together and helping him through the process. But if you consider the overall cost of doing such an assessment or comparison between your actual or your current costs on ECC, S/4HANA and RISE with SAP, we are talking about something starting at 20K and ending up somewhere in the 200K, depending on the client size. So it is very attainable. And if you consider the impact of it, which may lead you to cost avoidances between a couple of $100,000 over the next 5 years to a big couple of millions, definitely worth looking into that.
Yeah, so it's not about how much is it. It is also about that, but it's more about how much can it save you, and then compare what you actually spent and what you saved money with.
Yes, but also making sure that you buy what you need, making sure that you have understood what SAP is offering you. If you need to add additional services to it, so just make a proper comparison and evaluation of your situation, and don't just buy one-size-fits-all solution, because this is not the reality of ERP. ERP has a certain level of complexity, so look into this complexity. We make it easy with visoryQ.
Okay, so I suggest that's actually a good point to say, to not only state a from to number. Anyone who wants a proper evaluation of what they need and how much the effort would be to sort of start and use visoryQ is please reach out to us using labs@voquuzlabs.com. We distribute our the emails to our experts according to where you are based in our market. We're an international company. Feel free to also contact Samuel or Francisco via LinkedIn and connect with them. They're pretty active there and are more than happy, talking on your behalf now, but more than happy to connect and answer your questions. I'll jump to the last one that actually says, SAP stated innovations will be available only for clients using public cloud and RISE subscription model. You sort of answered that already, but there is something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think SAP is prudently trying to understand what the future strategy is. And if you see companies like Salesforce, somewhere Oracle with their software as a service solutions, I totally understand what SAP is doing there, and they're investing and focusing very much on RISE with SAP, which totally makes sense. Christian Klein corrected his opinion on that on a meeting in front of the German SAP user group, confirming that they wouldn't leave out users of SAP, of S/4HANA on-premise or perpetual, as you want to name it, in the near future. People are still investing in it or have already invested in it. So I don't think this is a correct opinion, and the fact that Christian Klein corrected this gives me the impression that he's really trying to understand what the market needs, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. It's as we do. We correct our directions every once in a while too, trying to understand what clients ask from us. But the last statement from SAP's general manager was that they would include S/4HANA on-premise clients in the future developments.
I have a last one up my sleeve, and that probably goes to Samuel. It says, how long does it take to set up visoryQ to get the first results or get a first glimpse of what's happening with my ERP decisions?
This is a very simple tool. So as usual with VOQUZ Labs, our tools are not really technically complex. And here we are talking about the cloud application. So it's basically already set up. We just need to set up a new tenant and the users that will be using it, and you're ready to go within minutes. So it's a very simple, it's nothing technical. Only if you want to install it locally on a web server of yours, it may take you a day or something with depending on your internal processes. But it's a very simple application. The complexity lies in the methodology and the logic behind the tool, not so much in the technology.
Yeah. Samuel, anything people should sort of prepare when approaching us to jump into the advantages of visoryQ from your perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah. Usually we request at the beginning of this type of projects the bill of material that the customer has currently, and also if they have some proposed by SAP from different scenarios like RISE or S/4HANA, this could help us to understand what they are looking for and prepare some financial scenarios to present. So this could help a lot us to just speed up the project, the entire project.
Yeah, also now, since I don't know if it was the beginning of this year, clients have SAP for Me, which is SAP's portal, client portal, and we can even download the bill of materials from there, which helps a lot. So we have a lot of tools there to make the process easier for you.
So easy preparation, quick answers, the way I understand it, and simple implementation. Great. Yeah. I've got two technical ones. This is someone asking whether the recording is going to be available. Of course it will. I'm just going to quickly share the screen so you know where to find it. So we're going to reach out to you via email as well, follow up and share the recording to you. If you want to be proactive, which some people tend to do, is you simply go to VOQUZlabs.com, go to resources and have a select webinar on demand. Now you see the last webinars. Obviously, as this is going on, it's not up there already. If you need any more information you want to share with your colleagues in terms of brochures and stuff, you could use resources and brochures and have a look. Or if you prefer a direct talk and individual answers, as I said, reach out to Samuel, Francisco, or anyone else in your region from the VOQUZ Lab experts team, and we'll be happy to help. Any last words? Not as in for life, but for today, Francisco?
I thought you were going to shoot me already. No, thank you very much for attending the webinar, and I look forward to speaking with you about your concrete situation and see if there is something we can do to make a better decision in the future and better understand what kind of offerings you're getting from SAP and the SAP partners here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.